What's shaking booktube, my name's Cam, welcome back to another video. Today is a writing tips video, but it's not another writing cliches to avoid video. We're doing something a bit different today. We're going to stay in the realm of avoiding things, but today we're actually going to talk about some very particular words or phrases that you can cut from your writing, let's say after the first draft, that are going to make it sound a lot better, a lot more professional. P.S. I wish I'd known about most of these before I put some of my books out. Today's video is a very easy one. It's just 5 different particular words / phrases that you can take out of your story just to make it sound better. That's it. Hell man, grab a paper and a pen. Write these down. Very important to note, these aren't things that you need to implement straight away. I would say you can do this after your first draft. When you're making the first draft, just go crazy, don't worry about that sort of thing. But when you're reviewing it, this is when you want to be doing searches for these particular words or phrases and replace them with some better stuff. The first one is the most obvious one, and that's because it was the one used in Dead Poets Society by Robin Williams.
A man is not very tired, he is exhausted. And don't use very sad use. Come on, Mr. Overstreet, you twerp.
Morose?
Exactly, morose.
Very and really, words that you definitely don't need to be using in your writing. I'll mention this as different to characters having dialogue in the stories because it's a common thing when we're actually talking to people, but when you're narrating the story, when you're doing the narrative, you don't want to be using these words. Most people would tell you it's because it sounds sloppy, it sounds unprofessional, and that's true. But I would add this, it also is a massive missed opportunity to sound smart as fuck. Seriously, pretty much any instance where you're using the word very or really, that's an opportunity there for you to use a big word. Instead of saying the car was really big or the car was very big, you would just say the car was enormous. It makes the story sound better, it makes it roll a bit smoother, and it makes you sound very clever. Number 2 is using the word like, and this isn't something that you need to cut out completely because in a lot of cases it's going to be necessary, but it can be overused. You don't need to turn every descriptive section of a story into a metaphor. And this is a big problem for a lot of writers. Every time they're describing something, they will say, it was like, and then they have some really poetic metaphor. When you're doing that for every single item on the shelf of the room that the protagonist just walked into, it's exhausting and it's just frustrating for the reader. If you find that you're using too many metaphors, for example, you're saying, her eyes were like the moon reflecting in a crystal lake on summer's eve, you could just say, her eyes were luminescent. Sometimes that's all you need. Number 3 is sort of or kind of. Another common thing for a lot of writers is that when they're describing things, they'll use the words sort of or kind of. You can get away with this maybe once or twice, but it is not something you want to get in the habit of. Is it really necessary to say the water was sort of warm, or could you just say the water was warm? It's just not necessary to put sort of in there, and it just makes you sound really unsure as a writer. It's making something sound vague that doesn't need to be vague. It's an instance where you can definitely be more specific and it takes away absolutely nothing from the story. I think if you go back and you look at all the instances that you're using sort of and kind of, you could take it out and it would make pretty much no difference whatsoever, aside from the fact it's going to sound a lot better. Next up is a lot of. This is another instance of wasted opportunity. I'm gonna tell you 2 different kind of lines. Imagine you're reading these in a story and tell me which you think sounds better. There was a lot of grass in the meadow. The meadow was filled with lush green grass. It's pretty obvious that the second example there I gave was a lot better, and that's because it's an opportunity to do some more describing. It's a bit more show than tell. It makes the reader feel like they're there. It's providing more of an atmosphere rather than just telling the reader what they're looking at. And a lot of the times, hey look, I just did it. A lot of the times that you're using a lot of, you could be replacing it with some beautiful descriptive narrative. Last but not least, suddenly. Suddenly an obese naked man burst out of the closet. Suddenly an alien in a cowboy hat fell from the sky. It's just not always necessary. The point of the word suddenly is to provide some shock value and some surprise to the reader. Using suddenly is okay every now and then, but you don't want to be starting the last sentence of every chapter with the word suddenly. In a lot of cases, just diving straight into it and saying what happened rather than saying suddenly the thing happened is more surprising than saying suddenly. In some cases, you can replace the word suddenly with an audio cue. For example, instead of suddenly an obese naked man burst out of the closet, you could say, bang! The closet door flew open and a large naked man ran out wielding a slice of cottage cheese. I don't know. Wasn't a whole lot of effort put into that one, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, that's it. As you can see, it's pretty easy. All it is 5 words or phrases that you can cut down on or completely replace just to enhance the story, make it feel a bit more tight, make it feel a bit more smooth. Tight and smooth like a butt. As always, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Catch ya.